The restaurant was too quiet for a Friday night. The soft hum of jazz floated through the air, clinking glasses echoed from nearby tables, and the scent of freshly baked bread mixed with perfume and wine. Yet for Daniel Brooks, the only thing louder than the room was the silence at his table. The candle flickered in front of him, its tiny flame swaying as if mocking the emptiness of the seat across from him. He checked his watch again, 7:45 p.m. She was already 45 minutes late. His heart sank a little more with every tick of the second hand. He had told himself not to get his hopes up. After all, it wasn't the first time someone didn't show. But this was supposed to be different. His sister, Claire, had set up this blind date with someone special. She had said, "Trust me, Daniel, she's perfect for you." So he dressed in his best navy blazer, even wore the watch he hadn't touched since his divorce 3 years ago, the one his ex-wife had given him on their 5th anniversary, back when forever still meant something. Now, forever was just a word people used when they didn't mean it. Still, he waited. Because that's what good men do. They wait, they hope, and they pretend the disappointment doesn't sting as much as it does. If you believe in kindness, patience, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts just like yours. He took a sip of his water and tried to look casual, though his heart wasn't in it. The waiter approached with a polite smile, asking if he'd like to order, but Daniel shook his head. He wanted to give her 10 more minutes. Just 10. Maybe traffic, maybe nerves, maybe something. But when the clock struck 8, reality hit him like a quiet wave of truth. She wasn't coming. Daniel exhaled deeply, trying not to look as defeated as he felt. Around him, couples laughed, hands intertwined across tables, eyes meeting with affection he hadn't felt in years. He gathered his things, slipped a generous tip under the untouched menu, and stood up to leave. Just as he was about to turn away, a small, high-pitched voice pierced through the murmur of the restaurant. "Excuse me, mister?" He turned. And there she was, a little girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old, standing beside his table. Her brown hair was tied into 2 uneven ponytails, and her big hazel eyes blinked nervously as she clutched a small stuffed rabbit in her arms. Her pink sneakers were soaked, and tiny drops of rain slid from her bangs onto her freckled cheeks. "My mommy's sorry she's late," she said, almost whispering. "She asked me to tell you not to leave yet." For a moment, Daniel didn't know what to say. His heart softened instantly, the disappointment melting into confusion and curiosity. He knelt slightly to meet her eyes. "Your mommy?" he asked gently. The girl nodded, holding out a folded napkin. "She said to give you this. She's parking the car." Daniel unfolded the napkin. There was a short message written in hurried handwriting. "I'm so sorry. Please don't go. L." He looked back at the little girl, who was now fidgeting with her bunny's ears. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Emma," she said. "Mommy says I talk too much when I'm nervous." "Are you nervous too?" Daniel smiled for the first time that night. "A little bit," he admitted. And before he could ask anything else, the restaurant door opened, and in walked a woman, her hair dripping from the rain, her breath quick and shallow as if she'd run a marathon. She scanned the room anxiously until her eyes landed on Daniel and the little girl. "Emma," she gasped, rushing forward. "Sweetheart, I told you to wait by the door." Emma just grinned. "I told him you were sorry." The woman turned to Daniel, her expression a mix of embarrassment and exhaustion. "I am so sorry. The babysitter canceled last minute, then my car wouldn't start, and I didn't want to cancel on you after Claire told me how kind you were." Her words trailed off as she tried to catch her breath. Daniel gestured to the chair. "It's all right. You're here now." She smiled gratefully and sat down, pulling Emma gently beside her. "This is probably the worst first impression ever," she said with a soft laugh that somehow made Daniel's chest ache. "I'm Lily." "Daniel," he replied. For the next few moments, things were awkward, but only in that delicate, human way that happens when two strangers try to navigate something real. Emma, with her innocent energy, quickly broke the ice. She told him about her bunny, about how her mom's car makes funny noises, and how she likes drawing pictures of clouds because they look happy. Lily apologized again, but Daniel waved it off. "Honestly, if you hadn't been late," he said, glancing at Emma, "I might have missed the best part of the evening." That made her laugh, a genuine, tired, but beautiful laugh that made the flickering candlelight seem brighter. As the evening went on, the rain outside softened into a steady drizzle. The three of them talked, laughed, and for the first time in years, Daniel felt something shift inside him, a quiet warmth, a spark he thought had long gone cold. He learned that Lily was a nurse, working long shifts at a city hospital. She had been a single mother for 5 years since Emma's father left when she was a baby. "It's been hard," she said softly, eyes glancing down at her cup. "But she makes it worth it." Daniel nodded, understanding more than he could say. After his divorce, he had built walls so high that no one could reach him. He had buried himself in work, pretending that loneliness was peace. But sitting there, listening to Emma's giggles and watching Lily smile despite her exhaustion, he realized something: maybe it was time to let those walls fall. They finished dinner, and when it was time to leave, Daniel offered to walk them to their car. The rain had stopped, but the pavement glistened with reflections of streetlights. Emma skipped ahead, holding her mother's hand. Daniel walked beside them, feeling oddly complete, as though he belonged right there, in that small, imperfect moment. Weeks passed after that night, and what began as a blind date turned into quiet phone calls, then shared dinners, then afternoons at the park with Emma chasing butterflies. Lily brought light into Daniel's world again, and Emma brought laughter. He found himself rearranging his schedule just to spend more time with them. But life, as it always does, tested them. One cold evening, Daniel arrived at Lily's apartment to find Emma sitting alone on the couch, tears streaking her cheeks. "Mommy's sick," she whispered. Lily had collapsed at work from exhaustion and was now in the hospital. The long shifts, the stress, the constant struggle of single motherhood, it had all caught up to her. Daniel spent the night by her bedside, watching the rhythmic rise and fall of her breathing, feeling the helplessness he hadn't felt since the day he'd lost his father years ago. He realized in that quiet, sterile hospital room just how much she meant to him. She wasn't just a woman he was dating. She was home. Days turned into weeks, and Daniel took care of Emma, driving her to school, cooking her breakfast, reading her bedtime stories. The little girl, once shy and talkative, now clung to him like he was the anchor keeping her world from drifting apart. When Lily finally recovered, she woke to see Daniel asleep on the chair beside her bed, his hand loosely holding hers. She looked at him for a long time, at the man who stayed, the man who didn't run when things got hard. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Thank you." Daniel smiled sleepily. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "You both gave me something I didn't know I needed. A reason to feel again." Months later, they sat in the same restaurant where it had all begun. Emma was at home with Claire, and it was just the two of them. The candlelight flickered again, but this time, there was no empty seat. No waiting. No disappointment. Lily reached across the table and took his hand. "You know," she said with a smile, "I almost canceled that night. I thought, who'd want to go on a date with a woman who comes with this much chaos?" Daniel laughed softly. "I'm glad you didn't. Because that chaos turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me." Outside, the city lights shimmered against the wet pavement. Inside, two hearts that had once been broken found something whole again, something that made sense. And as Daniel looked into her eyes, he remembered that first night, the empty table, the little girl's voice, the note on the napkin. how something so small had changed everything. He realized then that sometimes, love doesn't arrive when you expect it. It shows up late, soaked in rain, holding the hand of a child, but it shows up when you need it most. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Every little act of kindness helps us bring more true and heartfelt stories to you. Before we end, we have one special request. If you believe in love that finds you when you least expect it, comment below. Love always finds a way. And remember, sometimes the most beautiful beginnings start with an empty chair and a simple apology.